Participants, we are about to go live. I would request all the participants to keep your mic muted all the time during the meeting, and your videos should be switched off. Okay, and as and when you have a question, please raise on the screen or use the chat box so we can take up the necessary questions and for a necessary response from the resource people. Thank you very much. Participants, good evening. I welcome you for the panel discussion and open house on the topic of forensics in fraud investigations. While this topic has been a very the need of the hour at this point in time, we have the resource people and the experts who will be joining us to discuss about this topic and answer most of your clarifications or most of your queries, questions related to this particular topic. I would request Setu Lakshmi to introduce the guests at this hour.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second open house on forensics in fraud investigation webinar cum panel discussion by Clue for Evidence Foundation. Let me introduce myself. I'm Setu Lakshmi as a full-time volunteer of Clue for Evidence Foundation is here to address and welcome our respected dignitaries present over here. First and foremost, I would like to say a few words about our Clue for Evidence Foundation. Clue for Evidence Foundation is an NGO dedicated for many initiatives, among which aims in providing the help to people who are in need of legal and investigative support, and also in the view of providing knowledge in forms of internships, trainings, webinars, seminar, etc. Also, we believe no support is complete without passing knowledge to the next generation. With these sole reasons, Clue for Evidence Foundation has been initiated. Now I would like to welcome our expert panelists one by one who shares about the vast scope and career in forensics under fraud investigation. First, I'm welcoming Dr. S. Gopalakrishna Sharma, sir, working as the Consultant Director at Divasprik Intelligence Private Limited and the Chief Consultant at Vikaha, the consulting expert, who joined us to give more idea and knowledge. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
I'm here welcoming Mr. CSV Prasad sir, currently working as the Managing Director of Spectra Financial Consultants Private Limited, also been as a Chief Manager of Public Sector Bank, being the professional expert, joined us to provide the knowledge. Welcome you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I am welcoming Dr. Ranjit Singh sir, Managing Director and founder of SF, the Sherlock Institute of Forensic Sciences, also an expert in cyber forensic fingerprint, question document examiner, entrepreneur, and a keynote speaker to guide us on the idea and knowledge about fraud investigation. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome, sorry, sir. Now I would like to welcome our Honorable Chairman of Clue for Evidence Foundation, Mr. Faninder BN Sir, who is the mastermind and the host of today's event. He is a professional court commission forensic expert, also the Director of Clue for Evidence Forensic Lab and founder of C4E Institutions. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Setu Lakshmi.
Last but not least, I would like to welcome all the participants who have joined us for today's webinar cum panel discussion. With great honor, I'm handing over the session to our chairman, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Setu Lakshmi, for introducing all the guests. I would request all the guests to be active on the screen. Let me begin this discussion with the theme, to refresh the theme of the day. The theme of the day is the forensics in fraud investigation. While participants fraud investigation is a separate domain which we're dealing with as a practice today, how the forensics has any role to play in fraud investigations, and what is the extent to which we actually depend upon forensics in the fraud investigations. While answering this question, I would first request Dr. Gopal Krishna sir to give his introductory remarks. Let all the participants get a first idea about what is a fraud investigation and what are the different aspects of fraud investigation. So followed by, I would take up Mr. C.S.V. Prasad and followed by Dr. Ranjit to initiate their initial comments. Dr. Gopalakrishnan sir, over to you.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity at the outset. See, I'm basically into financial fraud investigations, which normally hit many enterprises nowadays. Every business houses aim for cash flow and profit maximization in reality. When you look into the term finance, how qualitatively an organization can generate the profit is very important. Profits can be generated, profits can be created. Creation of profit is manipulation, and so it is termed as a fraud. How necessarily it is important for any enterprises to overcome such kind of a fraud? Why it arises? Any fraud in an organization arises mainly due to internal control weaknesses. When you look into the financial frauds and look into the internal control weaknesses, we all know that the systems play a vital role. IT plays a vital role. So, unveiling any kind of a financial misery includes necessarily the cyber security and the fraud whatever occurs against the same as well. When the IT fails in a business enterprise, that means automated internal controls are going to fail. When this automated internal controls fails, there are every possibility that the fraudster might hit the business enterprises in a manner which puts the organization totally in the back burner. So it is very important for us to come out with a strategy to prevent such kind of a fraud from its occurrence. Point number one, investigate how a fraud can occur in reality. 3, who are the people responsible for performing the fraud? Point number 4, what is the loss ultimately hitting the business enterprises? So in terms of doing this, we refer it to be a forensic auditing practice. This is not a regular audit undertaken by any external auditors or internal auditors in reality. They confine only with respect to the available evidences and the books of accounts of a business enterprises. We even look beyond the same. A fraudster can create a lot of manipulated evidences in an organization, which practically a normal person may not be able to find out the authenticity of the same. And they receive it, they book it, the payments would be made. Many fictitious vendors can be created. Many fictitious transactions can be created. And through these kind of fictitious transactions, revenues are overstated. Many other figures are overstated or understated, which would be hitting the business profitability and the cash flows. So even detecting these kind of frauds basically cannot be done through a mere auditing practices. So we have to in order to literally look into this and delve into this kind of fraudulent practices and save the business enterprises from further damages. Most important element will be to prevent these frauds from its reoccurrences or occurrences. We have to think of new fraudulent practices, what can be exactly hitting the business enterprises from different angles. We must foresee and we must take a preventive controls against those kind of frauds. So the in order to check the authenticity of the evidences, in order to check the authenticity of the figures, forensic tools are applied. Forensic tools are required. Forensic scientists' help will be required. Only then probably you can protect an enterprises from such kind of a fraudulent practices. So this, please understand, include the most important need of the hour, which is cyber security protection. Many enterprises fail miserably. They come out with different softwares. They come out with different IT technologies. Unless otherwise, they design and implement a strong automated control on each and every transaction which is happening through these IT technologies. It is very difficult for the business enterprises to even go high in terms of its cleanliness, financial cleanliness. So from the table of myself, what normally we do is we help the business enterprises to evolve strategies. We help the business enterprises to design controls. We help the business enterprises to overcome these kind of frauds. We help the business enterprises to even suspect that a fraud is occurring in a business. At least that is very important. Many of the people do not know the occurrence of the fraud itself. So suspecting that a situation might lead to a fraud is very important. Only then the job of us would be made easy. Otherwise, we may not be even able to come to understand that this organization is really under trouble. So it is just like our own human body. When we are having a disease, unless otherwise we feel that a disease is existing within ourselves, we may not be able to go to the consultant, doctor, approach the doctor for a treatment. So this is very important. So this, how to suspect such kind of a fraud in a business. These kind of elements definitely are part and parcel of any forensic auditing practices. And this is what I would like to put forward right now. Thank you, Mr. Phanindran, for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Hope it is clear to you all.
Yes, sir. In fact, I'll take up follow-up questions based on your initial remarks very soon. Thank you. Okay. I would now request CSV Prasad sir to start with his initial remark. While participants, we also have Mr. Satish Huliar, who is our principal, who has been an ex-banker as well. Sir, if you can please broadcast your video and identify yourself, please. Satish sir. Okay. I'll also take him on the discussion very soon. While Prasad sir, you have
Hello,
been
yeah, I'm here.
So please broadcast your video so that people can understand how you present yourself and how you look, so that people can get back to you in the future days. Okay. You'll be prepared for this. Prasad sir, while you have been a banker and you have been a financial consultant, while you keep dealing with the finances, I would also call finance as one of the risk, and there is a lot of frauds which we actually anticipate, witness in ongoing transactions of any particular organizations. So how would you actually put across the need and the scope of forensics in the fraud investigation, or if you can actually highlight on any such case studies, okay, that would be enlightening for the audience here.
Good evening, Phanindarji. Good evening to all the presenters here and the visitors. I have been fortunate to be a banker from the non-computerization, purely manual banking days till the computerized days. So I have seen how frauds happened or happening without computer's help and with the computer's help. Actually, a banker's life is like, he's always on a minefield, especially today. Today's banker is literally walking on a minefield every day, every minute. In my olden days of banking, it was at least not so much prevalent and it was easy to locate, identify and quickly stop the fraud from happening. One interesting thing, when I just joined the bank in Andhra Bank, I was in credit card. In those days, the credit card slips, merchant establishments used to send their slips to the bank for payment. When I was going through the slips, even before it went to the accounts, I observed a particular card number repeating every now and then. And identical, like TV, 3 shops, 3 TVs. That triggered my mind. And then I quickly went through everything and immediately brought it to the management's notice, and they immediately we caught hold of the guy very quickly. Had it not been identified by me and it has gone for payment just like that, there was no way anybody could have stopped it for a few months, and by the time a lot of money would have gone out of the system. But that was once in a while somebody like me would have noticed. Otherwise, what? That is where the today's computerization helps. But still, as our friend told earlier, internal controls, preventing and preempting fraud is more important. Doing a forensic investigation after the accident or incident has happened is fine, but the prevention is more important. And the fraudsters are always one step ahead of the bankers and software people and the consultants like Paninder. We find ways and identify the ways and means by which the fraudsters can perpetrate a fraud on the bank, but they will find 10 other opportunities meanwhile. One of the incidents that happened when I was into consulting, one customer came with IT returns quite some time back when the computerized IT returns were not there. Auditors used to fill the ITRs in hand and get it signed by the income tax department. I noticed 3 income tax returns for 3 years filled beautifully, perfectly in a very good, nice round handwriting. And to my surprise, I noticed all the 3 sheets looked identical in age. You know, a 3-year-old income tax return paper, how it would look. Again, I triggered my mind. Then I went to a banker friend. Then he identified this guy seems to be a fraudster. So we brought him to the bank as if we are going to give some loan. It got him caught and all that. That's all. But how much can the banker is doing 1,000 things at a time. He's handling saving bank account, current account, loan sanctioning, loan monitoring, selling insurance, mutual funds, cash handling. So many things he is doing at the branch level. If we say that he is responsible for the fraud prevention, it is not right. The back office systems of the bank should be finding ways and means of preventing the frauds. Most of the frauds after they have happened, we feel this could have been stopped from happening had a preventive measure was in place earlier. If there are nowadays, these things are happening, a credit card being used continuously or a debit card used continuously, quickly you get an SMS, so that is there, but more stringent and more stronger measures, stronger data analytics need to be done so that these things are preempted quickly. We see thousands of crores swindled by one single loan account, from a single loan account. How is that possible without somebody's negligence or the system not generating or creating red flag? How is it possible? That's not possible. So this is where with 52 crore accounts opened in 4 months, are the bankers ready to handle the frauds could be from happening? How strong are our systems? I think all our certified forensic specialists will be having handful of incidents coming up, or they might even be able to help the bankers in the IT department to create systems and procedures in such a way that the frauds can be preempted. There are diversion of funds, even import-export simple transactions. There is a money laundering happening. The banker has to be careful that what kind of transaction is happening. We know of one bank, you ask for an opening of an LC, they go to the extent of which port it is getting, loaded, which port it is going to be delivered, to identify if there are any opportunities of money laundering happening. To that extent, people have to be careful. There is a KYC of customer to be checked, not only customer, vendors KYC also to be checked. And again, for money laundering, investors KYC also needs to be checked. The other day, one customer, I asked him, you have got an investment of so many crores from a Dubai party. Can you please share the details? They refused. So like this, so many things. Unfortunately, the banker who is just a normal banker, knowing credit and marketing deposits and advances, he is drawn into this kind of forensic issues, frauds that are happening through systems, which is not in their control. I think more and more, the forensic experts will be running the bank less than the banker. Thank you, Panindra.
Sir. Prasad sir, thank you very much for your introduction and your initial remarks. While I now come to Dr. Ranjit for his initial remarks with a question. While Dr. Ranjit, you have been into the investigation industry and you have been investigating different natures of samples. Okay, while Dr. Gopal Krishna mentioned about the frauds in the procurement aspects, while Mr. CSV Prasad was mentioning about the frauds in the loan possibilities. You take the loan, you divert the loan somewhere. My question to you is that the frauds are not only as per the documents. Documents is one part of the fraud which eventually get recognized in the subsequent matter of investigation. However, I would like you to brief the audience on what are all the different categories of fraud, be it be logistics, be it be the food adulteration, be it be any kind of of water testing aspects, and then you can eventually come to the documents which a couple of resource people have raised that point of discussion.
Thank you so much, Faninder sir, for inviting me and giving me opportunity to be present here in this open house discussion on the forensics in fraud investigations. And I thank you all the esteemed panel, Prashad sir, Sarma sir, and other member, and Clue for Evidence for giving me opportunity. So it's very important to understand the technology. The reason behind that nowadays maximum fraud is going to be based on the technology. And once we know the technology, how this technology is going to be useful for combat with such kind of fraud, first is to find it out either there is fraud or not. Like whatever the things, either in the food industry or into the pharma industry, there are n number of fraud is going on, like wrong medicine. Recently, we have seen that lots of cyber fraud is coming through some kind of one product, and that product, why I'm mentioning, because that is from the Karnataka region. There was one hair oil company who is taking the advertisement from almost all celebrity, and by taking the advantages, people are ordering their, making their order, and lots of people complaining that they have been cheated by such kind of fraud. So that is the one individual level, but in the corporate level, the fraud is at the different level, at the different aspects. And once we talk about what are the kind of fraud we have, apart from the cyber and document examination, and apart from the financial fraud, recently we have done some kind of investigation where we have found the moonlighting fraud. And moonlighting fraud is that, which include the payroll fraud as well. So in the moonlighting fraud, what the people, they are giving someone, someone else is giving the job. They are working for the two different companies, a similar nature of the work. And also someone else have given the interview on their behalf. someone else's account is there. So the flow of such kind of network and identification of such network is very difficult for the people, those who are working into the corporate sector. In the corporate sector, when we talk about the kind of fraud, like there are lots of expenses which is leaking with the revenue. They are not able to understand that how these revenue is going to out from the corporate and what are the kind of liability these have. There are lots of cases where they have the asset misappropriations, where the company assets, their inventory is not proper. And in one of the pharma company, we have done the investigation very recently, where the company has supplied around 5 million capsule only. That particular government of the international scenario, they provide this medicine free to the citizens. If a company is providing 5 million capsules to particular country, but in the country, the supply is showing 15 million. So if the 5 million is supplied in the inventory, how the 50 million had been distributed? So that even that medicine raised an alarm into the health system of that particular country, that our country is going to inflated or going to be affected by such kind of disease. So why there is so much use of this medicine? Later on, the acquisition come on the company, those who supplying the medicine, the corporate sector and the pharma sector. They said that no, we have not supplied this kind of inventory, this kind of medicine. Still, the inventory of the 5 million is still not delivered. We have till now delivered only 3.2 million. So from where they have made this transaction of the 15 million, because medicine is free for all the citizens in the particular country. It means there was a fraud inside the trade, inside the country, and that we find, yes, there are some pharmacists, those who are making this inventory as a false expenses, false reporting they are doing. And in that, we have find the people, those who are involved in offering, giving, receiving some kind of bribery and corruption also. How they are able to do that? So in that, we find that there are some insider trading is also there. Means they are getting some unfair of advantages, and there are some false billing scheme. Lots of false billing scheme are there, which is noticed in the particular investigation. As Sarmasal very rightly said, cyber is the one thing which is in including all kind of frauds. We have to be understand what are the data, how the data is managed, and what kind of things which is stored into the system. By finding all these things corroborating together, once we are able to find some kind of clues, only we can reach to some conclusion that either this is the level of fraud which actually we are able to find or not. So as level of payroll fraud, which is not in only in the corporate sector, even in the government sector, also in most few places where the one person is getting the salary from the 30 different schools. So such kind of things is very, very important. And from this panel, it is going to be very useful for finding other things. Like there are companies, those who are suffering lots of food related, wrong food related fraud, where the wrong medicine or food product was supplied to the public. So all these kind of things are on a very high level, and that is not only on the one steps. There are many people, those who are involved. There are insider, those who have worked in the particular corporate or the particular company, and they have taken the almost all the informations so that they are able to make a maximum similarity with the product, for which is very difficult for the general public to identify either this is a fake product or the original product. So there are very minor changes, and some level it's a changes at the level of pixels. So we can understand that how the general public is going to identify such kind of fraud. So it is very high time where the forensics comes into the picture to find it out, the label which we are going to use in the investigation, the technology which we are going to use for the investigation. And that's why the legality of all these things. So it's very important that corporates should use the forensic science with the technology and the legality, and techno-legal opinion is going to be very, very useful for finding and combating with such kind of fraud in the corporate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjit sir, for your initial remark. While participants, you must understand that we are at a very close stage of leaving back our traditional legal systems, and we are now very soon going to adopt to the amended criminal laws and evidence laws. By July 1st, those laws will be in practice. While Mr. Amit Shah, the Union Home Minister, when he announced this particular the amendments, there was this discussion: any such crimes to which the punishment is to be more than 7 years and plus. Because for different natures of crimes, there are different natures of punishment. For any such punishment which requires 7 years and plus of punishment, for those cases, a forensic investigation is a must. That's what one of the highlight about the new Criminal Procedures Code and the Indian Evidence Act, which is now renamed as Bharatiya Sakshya Samhita. While we're discussing about this, now we are specifically discussing about the role of forensics in the fraud investigation. Just to highlight, I would request all the panelists, including Satish sir, to be on the screen for this round of discussion. While the one of the beauty of white collar crimes, which we are discussing for the day, when we discuss about frauds, when we discuss about the fraud and its investigation, the question is that how soon are we going to identify such frauds? Obviously, we are discussing about the white collar crimes, and speciality of white collar crimes is such that it would not be identified the moment it is going to be committed. It takes a long time for people to realize, yes, there was a fraud. So when the fraud is then reported, the scope of how the fraud was committed comes into picture. So in this sense, the forensics will all be used for starting to ending, how it happened, who are all involved in that, what all the necessary evidences which we have to consider and investigate. In this sense, the investigation would start. Suppose if I pose the same case study which Dr. Ranjit narrated here, I would like to ask Dr. Gopal Krishna, from your side, if you are the a person who will be taking up this kind of investigations, while you have been doing this for over a decade from now, and if such things comes to you, so what are all the key evidences which you would gather, and what are all such things which you want to establish in your given narration of Dr. Ranjit's case, sir?
Okay, I received your question. So basically, Dr. Ranjit Singh was highlighting regarding the fraudulent practices, whatever happens in the pharma industry. The collection of evidences depends upon what kind of a financial misery occurred. Not only financial misery, let me tell you, the hospital frauds are number of cases, whatever probably you may be able to witness nowadays, are increasingly going high. Because one way or other way, it is related to the insurance as well. The insurance and the hospital frauds are one way or other way related. Rather, what I can say is, at the end of the day, collecting and evidences are basically required for you to prove that a crime occurred. So, what kind of an evidences basically we can collect in this regard is not restricted to any documents alone. It is even restricted to the observation what you are making, probably the what to say, the investigation which you are going to make on certain individuals' private life, the transactions, whatever happening, the backdrop of these kind of institutions, everything can be one way or other way considered as an evidence. I guess it is clear. Hello, is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And literally speaking, certain evidences, the authenticity we may not be able to prove. That is where exactly the forensic techniques, scientific techniques is playing a greater role. So in order to prove at the end of the day that the fraud occurred, merely producing an evidence, a document or anything else may not be exactly going to convey the real message. So the blend of forensic scientific tools Along with the fraud investigation practices, definitely would be able to help the fraud investigator to dwell further into the misery and come out with the reality. This is what personally I can say right now.
While, so you actually mentioned forensic alone is not adequate and fraud investigation is not also adequate, but you have highlighted the importance of both of it. Going together is what can give a good result, is what you just happened to convey. While Satish sir has been into a banking industry and he has been into the investigation. He has been a investigator internally at the bank. Sir, if I had to pose this question to you, as a banker, when the loans are procured and when the loans are misused, when I say I take a loan for a particular purpose and I use it for some other purpose, do you see it as a fraud? And if in case you have to establish this as a fraud, what are all those evidences which you would like to gather it?
Yeah, good evening all. See, loans related. For example, the loan in banking industry or a bank is called, if it is a term loan, whatever the bank lends to the customer, a asset should be created out of our finance. That is the meaning of the loan. Suppose if I'm financing for a vehicle should come as an asset and it should be hypothecated to the bank. Suppose I'm giving a housing loan, the house will come into the picture and house is established, and that is the asset created out of our finance. So here, where people are misusing or where people are committing fraud is, like how Ranjit sir was explaining about the capsules, what a pharma industry makes, and 5 million to 50.
I
The
think,
same inventory thing on fraud is happened. I'm audible?
yes, sir, there was a glitch. Please go ahead.
I think screen again freeze.
So wherever there are invoices, there are many frauds we have observed. Some invoices frauds will also happen in the banking industry. Somewhere like recently, I investigated one case where term loan is sanctioned. A term loan in the sense it's a 3-year term loan. It is given to a entrepreneur for purchase of some machinery. What is observed is he went and brought some pro forma invoice from some local vendor, and it was submitted to the bank. So later on, when the account became bad and when I started investigating into that, we came to know that the entire invoices were false, fake, and it was a fraudulent invoice which was submitted to the bank. The GST, other registrations, everything we started investigating. The time we found out the fraud and the time we started investigating, collecting to the vendor place, checking whether the machinery has come to that manufacturing unit. We saw nothing. No machinery is supplied, but invoice is raised. Invoice contains a GST number. Then we started looking into the things, how it happened. The customer has submitted an invoice for around 19 lakhs. The bank has financed around 12 lakhs. The customer took the money. How we disburse, that is also important just for understanding of others other than bankers. Normally, once invoice is submitted, so we make it, a disbursement will be made to the vendor only. It won't go to the borrower in case of term loans and MSME loans. Directly, it will go to the borrower. Here in this case, there is a nexus. I just wanted to explain to you how they make money. See, the bank has financed for some machinery, 12 lakh rupees, and that it has gone as a RTGS to a vendor. So in this case, while investigating, we started checking the statement of accounts and how it was happening. Finally, we came to a conclusion. The invoice is real. At that time, GS that vendor, and his account was well maintained in another bank. So RTGS goes from our bank for after making one loan.
Satish sir, I think
The
you
loan
need to
and it
check.
will land in the vendor's.
So please check with your net connection. I'll just come back to you very soon. While
The fraud. I'm not audible.
so you have a network glitch, so I'll just come back to you very soon. While Dr. Ranjit, I would like to ask you and request you to elaborate the role of the digital evidences in such scams, because raising a fake invoice digitally, submitting to for submitting for some clearances, or claiming that I have purchased something, it could be also the frauds in the insurance sector. So how the digital forensics they come into picture in terms of these kind of frauds being investigated?
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, what about the evidences which submitted into the digital form? Their authenticity required to be checked. That is the one parameter which always, because nowadays how the digital funnel is going is very important. In under which kind of software and where their data is storing. Either the things which they are sharing as an output, or they are sharing directly through the portals. So that metadata, that proper chain of transmission required to check. Because nowadays, in my portal, like we have done recently one investigation for the GST fraud. So in the government, they are making some different portals, and for the other people, they are making some different GST. Like they are taking the GST 18% from the people, but for the government, they are submitting 12%. So no one is like me, you being a client, we are not going to check either our GST has been submitted or not unless we are going to take the input for that particular benefit. And in Indian scenario, more than maximum people, more than 80% people, those who are taking all these invoices, all these services, they are not going to get back from the GST input. So kind of this fraud is very, very high level. And particularly in the corporate, when the inventory, when the entries is going from one place to other place. You remember one case we together did for one of the top beverage company, where the documentation is and the transmission of that documentation into the digital form is again two things. When they are making the documentation and once it becomes the question document, so that analysis when we have into the digital format is altogether the different things. To prove that the digital format data is genuine or not, that is a one very important. Even today, few days back, we have done one of investigation for one of the topmost automobile company, where they have submitted some kind of photos of the email, that transaction conversation has been happened between the two parties about the order and other things. And they wants to prove in the arbitration that email is the genuine email. Now the question comes, if we have the screenshot pasted into the petition, into the PDF, how we can say that this is an email? So prove that this is a genuine email, we require to have the digital copy of the email, whatever the format they have. Either if they have the Outlook, if we require to have the PST database, if they have the other cloud-based server, we require to have the .eml-based database. So that is a challenge where the several times the investigating officers, several times the agencies and the courts also not able to understand what is a digital data. If they said that a screenshot or the photograph of the email is considered as an email, no, we cannot consider that as an email, because I can make any changes into the email. I can take a picture from my mobile and I can paste it into the any case. That doesn't going to solve and that is going to prove that this is a genuine email. And in the particular case, the whole arbitration was stuck because we demanded the original email is required. And such kind of things, these are the one or two cases, and n number of cases, thousands of cases, daily basis going into the court. Recently, in one of the cross-examination, they said that this is the data, all the photographs were destroyed because this was stored into the SIM card. And I was for the witness in one of the Narcotics Control Bureau case, and I just smiled. So judicial officer said that, why you are smiling? I said, nothing, sir. So no, you want to say something. So I said, it's a very simple, sir. Whatever the argument both the parties are making is doesn't have any scientific value, because the SIM card is not going to store any kind of memory which have the 300, 400 photographs, not even the one photographs, because the memory of the SIM card is going to be 128 KB, maximum 512 KB if you consider the new SIMs. Where the one photograph cannot be destroyed, and they are talking about the destroying of the all 300 plus photographs, because the accused has broken the SIM card. So it's very important to understand how the digital data is going to be procured and how it is going to be presented into the courtroom. So these are the challenges are in front of investigating officer, in front of the corporate, in front of the everyone, where they need the forensic experts, those who can help, those who can make them understand that how you should procure the digital data. So that is very, very important.
Yes. Well, Professor, let me give you a scenario. Probably a person takes a loan for some purpose, okay, and he actually does not use that for some purpose, and there could be some second stage of loan which is pending for the same borrower. So if you observe that this person has not utilized this particular loan for the said reason, okay, as a banker, okay, how would you press for the investigation, and what would be the necessary evidences to stop the further funding or to start the recovery process?
So basically, like Satish ji was mentioning, when the vendors are identified in the term loan sanction that he is buying XYZ equipment from so and so vendor, and this is their pro forma invoice, which gives a GST number also. So when the invoice is raised and the bank is about to make a payment, actually there should be a system which checks whether it's the same GST number for which account this payment is going to be released. Secondly, it also should check with the transport documents whether the machinery has been sent from there to this particular factory only or not. These kind of corroboratory evidences which are generally not looked into by a banker. As a credit officer, my job is to release his money. If he has brought his 25 lakhs, I have to, as per the invoice, I'm supposed to release 75 lakhs to that particular company. Okay, I have released by mistake, but there should be a ways and means of checking at every stage. If we have released one portion of the term loan, before the second portion of the term loan is released, it is the responsibility of the banker, credit officer, and branch manager to ensure that the entire money is utilized and it is visible as an asset at the customer premises. If it is not visible, that itself should trigger to stop the second release. They should stop it at second release itself. In fact, I would say that it is always a preventable issue, which by chance, if it had missed the notice of the credit officer, okay, at least you can stop the fraud happening continuously. Instead of losing 5 crores, at least we stop it at 1 crore only. This is what, as a credit officer or as a branch manager, this is what I would definitely do.
Okay. Sir, while Gopal Krishna sir, while this has been the input, and I am taking the inputs of both the bankers with the investigation, forensic investigation aspect, while the fraud investigation is not limited to only the banks, okay, which everybody of us here knows about it. So there could be a lot of challenges in the logistics. When I say logistics, there could be X amount of goods which are loaded to a particular truck. When they are yet to be receiving on the other side, okay, they see the goods being, less, or the goods being having a pilferage. So in such case, okay, how do you start with the investigation, and what are all the evidences which you would like to highlight in this?
Very good. Thank you. Let me bring to the highlight a specific case what happened or hit our country in the past. All of you know the case related to Reebok. They created fictitious warehouses. From the mother warehouses, they used to transport various goods directly to the distributors or franchisees. And what used to happen was creating fictitious customers, transporting the goods from their mother warehouses, and the goods which were supposed to go to the customers were diverted to the secret warehouses. This is a term which I would like to use. And from there, encashing these goods, okay, without any documentation, was proved after many years. Fraudsters will be coming out with ways and means of committing these frauds, which will not be coming to the limelight of anyone in the organization or any other auditor, who basically, even including the internal auditor who is doing their job. When the situation goes worse, the forensic auditor pitches into the system, and the kind of evidences whatever the forensic auditor can even get from these even include verifying 5-year-old documentations, verifying or interrogating or interviewing people who were in the system at that time, including the lorry drivers, including the transporting agents. Probably they might not be available to us right now. Even when you are in touch with a specific transporting company, the driver may not be available with them, but they would be able to give you the information of the driver who was in the system or who would have taken delivery of these goods 5 or 6 years back, and going after him to exactly collect the evidences is a painful affair. So simply spur of the moment or by verifying some documentation, it is never ever possible for anyone to come out with the evidences to prove that these kind of fraudulent practices happened. This is how basically the fraudsters created trouble for many in the case of logistics field.
No,
I think it's clear to you.
Yeah, in fact, I would like to narrate that. I would like to call the fraudsters are the reasons for the investigators to equip themselves. If the fraudsters don't play smart, maybe the investigators will keep their learning in the same stagnant level. So we should appreciate those fraudsters who are the reason for every investigator to equip themselves. While Satish sir, let's
Excuse
assume
me. Can I intervene?
Please go ahead, sir.
There are two things. Psychology plays a very vital role in fraud investigations. I strongly believe so. If the psychological balance of the fraud investigator is less than the psychological elements of a fraudster, fraud investigators are going to fail. It has to be other way around, without which you may not be able to literally, bring this fraud to the limelight and come out with evidences.
I keep repeating a statement very frequently in my sessions. Whenever we call something as a perfect crime, see, as per the jurisprudence of investigation, there is nothing like a perfect crime. There is nothing a perfect crime actually. The jurisprudence says every crime has a evidence. But when we say something as perfect crime, it only means that the fraudster has applied most of his mind to commit the crime, whereas the investigator has not applied that amount of mind to investigate that. That is when it becomes a perfect crime for the narrative purpose. But literally speaking, there is nothing like a perfect crime. While Satish sir, let's assume you are an investigator and you have been investigating in the banking. You know
Yes.
for sure that there is some evidence in the mobile phone of the employee. But when you sit for an investigation, how easy is that to procure that mobile phone for further investigation or to consider that mobile phone as a further evidence? So what are the challenges as a organization which you face during this kind of investigations?
Right now, the internal investigations lab testing or FSL report. Time has come. Now the banks also have to subject these type of things for the lab testing and other things. Now, as our Prasad ji also knows, our internal investigation goes on with our own witnesses, our own evidences, which is not digital. When it comes to digital, it is accepted by the bank itself, where we have some IT departments where they are checking. Suppose these type of things, what Paninder ji is mentioning, it has come across in the recent investigation what I did. The borrower to whom bank has financed was showing the mobile chat he was proving himself wrong. Sir, I never gave that idea to the manager. That manager only wrote the WhatsApp message. You can see the manager is writing that you bring the invoice. I will make a loan out of that and I will disperse. There, after seeing his WhatsApp messages, when we normally investigate, we investigate, and as investigating officer, we'll keep aside the manager and we'll talk to the victim like how others do. And once manager came, I just asked the manager whether you have passed on any WhatsApp message to him. He denied it. But already we as investigators, we saw it. But it never went for a testing or authentication because later on, she also started accepting. But as you rightly said, right now the banks and RBI and the ministry, it is not thought of sending the evidences to the FSL. However, in big frauds like maybe when it happened to Punjab National Bank, 9,000 crores and all, when it is subjected to CBI investigation, naturally all these testing happening,
I believe
but it's a need of the hour. I was just sir, as a forensic expert. See, we don't have a support system of forensics into banking investigations. As forensic experts and as a court commissioned experts, you can suggest to the banks, yes, it is the need of the hour that there should be a forensic checkpoint in each and every process of banking and finance. And
yes.
also the insurance. You as experts can suggest it to RBI and the government. That's what I want in the interest of banking and insurance people.
Sure, sir. Sir, Prasad sir wants to add certain things to this. While Dr. Ranjit sir, you can prepare for the answer on the chat box. There is a question for you. Thank you.
No, like as Satish was mentioning, the internal inquiry officer may not have the powers to, take over the mobile phone of the officer who has done any fraud. So there is this is the time for legal provisions to be included in such a way that not just the police, but the internal inquiry officer also has the powers to demand the possession of the mobile of this anything electronic, mobile, anything, the laptop, whatever, without going for legal, taking permission. By the time we would have already, cleared all the evidences from the mobile. So that's what I wanted to suggest.
Yes, sir. While one of the participants, Namrata, poses a question to Dr. Ranjit. How do we identify the original versus the fake product in the market, and how an ordinary person can identify that?
Yes, thank you, Namrata. Thank you for your question. So I'll say if you are the first time user of any product, it is very difficult to identify. So what precaution we can take? Try to purchase all the product from the authorized shop if you are talking about the medicines. Do not go for some product, because you see nowadays almost all platform they have the grocery and other things, and there are lots of offers is going on. What do you think if someone is selling this same product in 500 and someone is selling the same product in 199? How they are going to manage the things? It means something is either the product is expired or not. So with the permission of you, so can I show some pictures?
Sir, I'll just come to that because you should be made a co-host for that. I'll just come to that very soon. While
Sure. in that it's very important to see that either the printing is proper or not. Recently, we did one investigation from one pharma company where printing was the one parameter. On the basis of font, we have given hint to the Delhi crime branch, and then Delhi police crime branch, they have seized one factory into the Faridabad, and from there they have got around 16, 17 people, and from that particular, they have found all the medicine from their custody. And the prima facie things were a printing plain very, because if we talk about that analysis of the batch number, you do not know what is the original batch number, what is a fake batch number. But being in a layman, being in a general public, we should go about what kind of printing is available over there. The value which is available, the expiry date, font and format of the things. Position, if you think that there is some difference into the positioning or there are some wrong spelling mistakes, usually you will find the wrong spelling mistakes into the particular product packets. And because that is not done by any professionals, they cannot go for the proofreading, they cannot go for the quality printing, because if they are going to the quality printer, even they know that from where the company is printing by getting the insider source, they cannot go, because sometimes this information might reach to the original company. So what they are going to use, they are going to use the technology and the services which is available locally. And a company, those who are established, they are going to use the services not locally. They are going to first prove through the standards. And once you see by the see and feel, you can find it out. If you are the first time user, but if you're not the first time user, you automatically, by using the product, by just taking a drop of that particular product, you will identify this is a fake product, not the original one. In the pharma, it is very difficult. In the pharma, it is very difficult to identify this is a fake, or because, we do not want to taste the medicine. We just take a sip of water so that it can go in our body and it can create some miracle. So it's a very difficult, and it's very difficult to find it out in the pharma, either this is a fake medicine or original medicine by a layman.
Just to highlight, one more approach for this question. See, it's only when you know what is good, you will be able to identify what is bad. For all the people who who are vegetarians, for example, the moment they smell a non-veg, they get to know there's something not very usual, because you know what is a usual smell versus what is a unusual smell. So to detect a fake product, you must be used to the genuine product first. Or it also means to compare and to identify, you should always have a reference of a genuine product. But yet, as a layman, it's not very obvious that a layman can, in all the times, be able to identify that. But it requires an extra amount of common sense to question as to how come this product is coming to me so cheap. How can this offer is given to me without any struggle? If all the people are standing in a queue to get the same offer, how could I be so lucky that I am being offered someone unknown who is trying to give me that product? So these questions may be the triggering point, but yet it's a challenging situation. Depending upon the different products and different services, the answer going to be so subjective. While taking up the next question, while one of the participants here has posed a question, a lot of frauds happening outside, cyber crimes, purporting to be a FedEx scam. Victims are losing money. Okay, doesn't banks see these huge transactions? Are the banks sitting so quiet? Are the banks so blind? Is what the meaning of this question. So I would like to call upon Satish sir to narrate what actually happens at AML division of any bank today. Sir, please go ahead.
Yeah. See, Paninder sir is touching the point of anti-money laundering. So it's a huge subject to take up, but as many experts are here, the transaction-based banking, what we call, it is, see, you are doing many transactions from morning to evening, but as a banking system, if you take each bank, there will be 20 crore, 30 crore customers, total, it will be huge transaction. In my bank, it was around 3.6 crore transactions in a day. And we have a check systems, and whatever transaction you do, it is not going unnoticed. We have a system called Enterprise Fraud Risk Management, where we have a Clarify software. And see, there are two systems. One is CBS, the core banking system, which you are going to touch it. Once your transaction is done in internet banking, mobile banking, or physical banking, it is going to hit the CBS server. And behind that CBS server, we have kept one more that is called Enterprise Fraud Risk Management. For that, we are using one software. There we have given all lot of scenarios where it is going to check each and every transaction of yours. That is, suppose you are doing a transaction of say some 10,000 every day from your state savings account. So when you are doing 10,000 transactions every day, naturally our system, which is a fraud risk management system, with AI ML, already we are moving into artificial intelligence and machine learning, it pops up and it says, this man's lifestyle and other things is just a salaried person or a businessman. He used to take maybe withdraw the money or do transactions only on 20th or 30th or first week. But now suddenly there is a spur in his transaction. Every day this man is doing some 10,000 transaction. Ultimately, this transaction is routed to too many accounts, and somebody at the end of the chain is withdrawing money from ATM and making cash out of these transactions. So why people do this? See, directly they cannot do any anti-money laundering activity. Ultimately, what is anti-money laundering? It should be encashed. The cash system in the industry, in the economy, we have a lot of restrictions. People out of balance sheet, whatever they want to earn, they are evading tax. They are doing so many other means in the accounting procedure, and ultimately it will be siphoned off from the balance sheet aspect. So this anti-money laundering activity is a transaction-based activity which is observed and checked within the bank. And whenever we find the spur in the transaction, we'll directly report it to FIU, that is under the Ministry of Home Affairs. It will be reported to Financial Intelligence Unit, we call it. So anti-money laundering, whatever we have created the scenario for a unprecedented transactions which people and the public and the corporates do. Normally, what Ranjit sir and Gopal Krishna sir was referring to, the frauds which they have investigated, how it will come to the light of the government. So banks have this system, checkpoint everywhere. Like income tax is having that check system through PAN, or GST is having through GST. Banks are having two tools. One is anti-money laundering mechanism, what we run behind the scenes. Another one is offsite transaction monitoring. I was heading both of this unit and I was handling those software. There are numerous opportunities to catch people. And we as bankers never disclose this because you are all forensic experts. I can explain it to you. Because if we are not let to know, because it is a board approved scenarios, what we are keeping the checkpoints inside. It's a latest technology, AML is included. We'll take permission from the board of directors, each and every bank under the guidance of RBI, and we fix the scenarios to catch the fraudsters. Or in the sense, catch the corporates directly. Say, as we all know, MCA on 31st March, they will be filing one balance sheet. Before October, they will do a audited balance sheet and they will submit it to MCA, and MCA is verifying that as this corporate has done a balance sheet, it's an audited balance sheet, and there ends the matter. But who is going to check the balance sheet and the transaction? That is where the AML and the OTM aspects come into picture. And internally, without any publicity or without any claiming that we have done this, the entire banking industry is protecting the economy by submitting these STR, we call the statement name. It will be submitted. Now it is online. The moment our scenario triggers, it is directly going to Financial Intelligence Unit under Ministry, Finance Ministry and Home Ministry. It is linked. So it is automatically flowing. It is in the interest of the economy. And this is explained whenever asked to a banker in a forum where we can explain to that. And general public doesn't know what is happening behind the scene. If we let them know our scenarios, they are very intelligent, sir. As Gopal Krishna sir and Paninder sir was telling, fraudsters are very capable. At least the entire banking industry, we are not let you also know what are our scenarios. So sometimes you feel that, अरे मेरा सर्वर डाउन हो गया, क्या है ये बैंक का सर्वर ठीक नहीं है, 5 मिनट में डाउन हो जाता है. सर एक्चुअली वो डाउन नहीं हो रहा है. हमने पीछे एक सिनेरियो लगाया, आपने 5 मिनट में 3 यूपीआई ट्रांजैक्शन कर दिया, immediately a call will come to you whether you are the same person who is doing this transaction. For that purpose, your transaction is blocked. But ultimately, blame is on banker that आपका server काम नहीं करता. But ऐसा नहीं है. And we never disclose these things since it's a forum of good experts. I can tell you these things. And AML is one tool which has caught all the corporates and all the frauds in the country.
Yes, sir. Sir, Prasad sir wants to add to your statements.
No, one of the questions is that, about the FedEx and these kind of frauds. See, majority of these frauds are either, and mainly it is human psychology, either it is greed or it is fear. FedEx one is about fear. Okay. But if you have not done anything wrong, you are 100% sure that you never did anything. Why should you be afraid? And if you are an educated guy, you read the FedEx frauds happening in the newspapers over 2 months. Third month, again, you see somebody has lost 1.5 crores for something like that. That means who can help you? If you are on psychologically, if you are not strong enough, nobody can help you. Same way, greed. I get almost every week, I get a message from State Bank of India that your saving bank account has got so many, points to encash. Please click on this. I delete it. But unfortunately, I have seen even some bankers have lost a few lakhs. Why? When I know for sure that my bank never gives me any points like this, why should I go and click and get myself caught in this kind of thing? Okay, phishing happens or somebody does something fully computerized fraud, they do it, that's fine. But somebody is offering you and you are going for the greed, because of the greed you are clicking on it, you're losing it. You cannot blame the bank. Yes, one point where I can blame the bank is if I have done something wrong like this and that guy is having an account with some bank, there is a KYC verification of that guy, and there is a trail that money has gone from this account to that account. How can it vanish in 1 hour? That is where I will blame the bank. That's what.
That the situation is like, you take the vehicle on a public place, leave the vehicle with your vehicle key, and you go have a lunch. And when the vehicle goes missing, you blame the police of not giving you the security for the vehicle. The situation is very similar to that.
Very true.
So I would consider this topic is a very sensitive topic of discussion, whether the customer is at fault or the law system is at fault. Ultimately, both have to be playing their role at the appropriate time. So when you play your role appropriate, this one, obviously, the such things can always be minimized. But the question of this hour is that how do we use forensics to mitigate such kind of crimes? The question to the panelists here is that, is there a scope for forensics to prevent such frauds? Because forensic has been such tool for investigating the frauds as and when they get reported. Okay, we only go back as a post-mortem approach, how it happened, what happened. Okay, but as a fraud investigation is concerned, the question to the panelists is that how the forensics can be effectively be used for prevention. Starting from Sir, all the panelists will give their input.
Yeah. See, so these days, every 3 days, I get added to one group for giving stock market this thing, and you will make a lot of money. Either it is a shares or mutual funds or cryptos or something like that. I diligently report and exit from there. So when such reporting is happening almost twice or thrice a week by me, why not WhatsApp be told to hold such people, monitor such people, or pass on such people? The minute somebody creates such group, it should be triggering somewhere. Secondly, again, when I am saying that, these points related SBI or any other bank is sending messages, definitely the system should be able to read a message like that. No? So when the systems of the telcos are able to read such messages, or they should put red flags when a message like this goes to multiple thousands of lakhs of mobile number, same message is going. Again, you should have a red flag to block such numbers. I think that is what the forensic, not afterwards, but preventive forensic is required.
Ranjit sir, your inputs, please.
Yes, sir. So it's very important, the question which is raised about the trading scam. So trading scam is completely on the basis of the greed which we have. How they are reaching to the people is that they are giving some task-based. They are sending some YouTube link. You have to like, you are going to get the 150 rupees. By 2-3 times, you are getting the money, and then they ask you to join the Telegram group. And once you join the Telegram group, they are asking to invest into some trading, where they are giving you the 10,000, 5,000 as a bonus. You will going to install that application's APK file. It will show that yes, 5,000 coming as in your balance. Then they will say that you have to invest. Once you invest 5,000, it will reach to the 10,000. Then you will get some profit, and it will reach to the 15,000, 12,000, 15,000, 18,000, and you are very happy. So that particularly actually not the amount which you are earning by the trading. It's just a UI they have designed where whatever the amount you are transacting to their portal, their account, it is just showing that number, and manually they are changing the number, and you are very happy. Once you go to withdraw that money, they will say that you can hold this 3 days, it will going to increase into the 3-fold, 5-fold. Again, you will hold and invest something. And by that way, the time period go 10-15 days. In that scenario, after that, if you are going to blame the bank, no, bank is not at all, responsible for this. You are doing this with your will, and you are not sharing with anyone, even your close friend. Otherwise, your close friend also going to become the rich, as you are in that particular UI phase of the applications, not in the actual. So in such case, if we talk about the preventive forensics, so we should avoid any such kind of application or any such kind of APK file where it is coming through any kind of WhatsApp group or any kind of Telegram group, number one. If you are really pro into the trading, then only you go on the certified portals, which they are having. If you have the that particular trading account, then you should go. You should not go by any application file which comes to you through the link or through the APK file. You should not believe on that. Once we talk about, which is I think very much not feasible, but yes, this can be one anti-forensic, preventive forensic, we can say, solutions, where the transaction we are making, and if the banking system makes such kind of provisions, like if I am making one transaction, my longitude, latitude match with the transaction of my OTP, which is, I think, customer, banking going to lose a lots of customers. The reason behind that, if my son is studying in Bangalore, I have to give the OTP from Delhi only. So he is not able to get the money. So that is not the practically very much possible, but this is going to be one of the very important preventive measures from which the such kind of transactional fraud we can stop or we can reduce.
Yes, sir. Gopal Krishna sir, if you have to mention the one tip of forensics, how that can be preventing any fraud.
Okay. I will climb upon something communicated already by our Prasad sir. He was talking about fear factor or the pressure which normally or ultimately lead to a fraudulent practice. I would like to add upon two more elements. One is opportunity, second is attitude. The opportunities can literally be cut in reality by way of designing and implementing very tight internal control mechanisms, whether it is manual controls or automated controls. In the business houses nowadays, when it is driven totally by the IT systems, automated controls dominance, but you cannot even sideline the manual controls as well. Manual controls are also equally important. So to a very great extent, you can cut the opportunity, but please remember that the fraudsters always will be trying to find out a loophole to create an opportunity for themselves. So even earlier, whatever I have said is we must apply, we must have a forensic brain in order to think that okay, some loopholes can exist, and we must be able to tap those loopholes. That is most important element. Point number two is attitude. Ideally, in reality, there are no controls or no systems which can literally be put into practice in order to prevent the attitude of a person from committing a fraud. Unless otherwise we keep them understand the importance of financial disciplines, importance of business disciplines, importance of control, and make them literally feel that this specific attitude goes away from their soul. It is very difficult for even further coming out with any forensics in terms of prevention of this attitude, which might lead to a lot of fraudulent practices.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically the tip which I would like to highlight here. Hope you understand.
Satish sir, your one quick tip on how forensics can prevent the frauds.
Yeah, I'll just take it on the organizations. If organization minds that yes, we have to prevent fraud, that's where these all our expertise, whatever we are going to teach to the next generation, will be useful. Now, yesterday, day before yesterday, my Facebook ID was created by somebody else. Now it is the job of Facebook to put one fraud manager into that system. Where it hits, there should be one fraud manager. You call it, you give it any name, forensic manager or fraud manager. That's the organization. Facebook is such a great thing. And you will be seeing every day that one of our IDs are created fake and they are luring the people and asking for money. Who is responsible for this, sir? It is the Facebook, which is earning in crores. But Facebook is not thinking that I have in that place. That's where the vision these skills as a certificate or as a master's, and they have to move ahead. And the organizations have to think that yes, one person of this qualification and one person of this investigative mind and a forensic mind should be in my team. Whichever team it may be in the corporate sector or in a company, we have to popularize this, and we have to tell that need of the hour is before the fraud happens, you keep one person who is vigilant, who can assess and who can anticipate the fraud. He may not catch 100%, but if one person as vigilant as Ranjit ji or Sharma ji or Paninder ji or with my in the bank, and we will be aware, he knows so much. While committing fraud also, we will be very vigilant. So that position should be created by the organization, and each and every organization where these frauds are happening, it is the priority of the organization to bring in some positions like, see, you know, chief technology officer is placed in everywhere. Chief financial officers are there. Chief risk officers are there. Maybe one day chief forensic officer may come. Chief fraud officer may come into the organizational structure. That's what I wish.
Fraud prevention officer.
But prevention officer or fraud investigation officer.
No, Panindraji, it is still preventable. Like Satish's ID has been hacked by somebody and they have cloned it. Isn't it so difficult to find the lat long from where that is coming?
Sir,
This lat long of this original account, the minute there are two different lat longs, it should automatically trigger a red flag.
definitely, sir. I'd like to summarize all the input and add on my inputs also for the discussion here. First of all, while Prasad sir, you mentioned about you keep getting a lot of Facebook, I mean the WhatsApp groups being added for your number, and participants, please understand all such fraudulent communication groups, be it be individual numbers, be it be a group of people, every such number can be reported as a prevention, which I'm discussing right now, not just as a investigation angle. The government of India has initiated a prevention protocol. You can check the chat box. I have shared the link, sancharsathi.gov.in. They have a Chakshu portal where you can go on reporting all these fake numbers, fake communications, and the government of India is now vigilant on those communications. That is the first thing. Second thing, whenever there is a fraud, you have different portals, which includes cybercrime.gov.in that can be reported for the reporting a fraud. After the fraud comes to cybercrime.gov.in. But when you suspect this could be a fake communication or highly probable to be a fake communication, fraudulent person communicating to you, that you can actually report to sancharsathi.gov.in. While if my ID is being created by someone else or impersonation on the social media, the intermediaries, the social media today are called the intermediaries. There is a guideline given by the respective ministry referred as Intermediary Guidelines 2023. A very strict guidelines has been given to all the intermediaries because all the social media, Ola, Uber, Zomato, Swiggy, all those people are termed as intermediaries. So please understand, the government of India under the respective ministry has given a strict guidelines on how these intermediaries has to respond to the requests of the investigation team. When you report that there is a suspicious or fraudulent activity, what is the timeline in which they have to be responsible for it? What is the turnaround time which they can take to respond to the request of the investigation officer? And these intermediaries also have implemented AI in their operations, artificial intelligence. But yet, irrespective of artificial intelligence being deployed, there's always a scope of human being in all these transactions, because of which certain things might get delayed. But for the companies which dealing with huge amount of data, they're also trying to do such things. While I would like to take the last question of the hour, if AI can be used in fraud detection, I would support the case if AI used in the finding duplicate profile. What you say, experts? It's even possible. Probably the answer is yes. There has been a lot of AI modules being created by different social media aggregators, and also different companies are adopting to AI as one of the remedies for mitigating this fraud. But I just mentioned, irrespective of any category, any degree of AI being deployed, there is a person who sits behind to monitor how this AI is performing. That is a human being. So still the scope of human beings to have the right approach of detecting the frauds, of right approach of creating the AI environment starts from the human being. So with all these things, dear participants, what the purpose we are doing this activity is that while you all are here to understand how the frauds, how the forensics, how the risk mitigation, how the investigation happens, Clue for Evidence Foundation has initiated its academic vertical today to offer this as an academic learning for all of you here. We are sharing the link on the chat box where you can go and check the course which we have initiated right now under the initiative of C4E Institute for Investigative Studies. We are offering a 2 years master's program in fraud investigations. While so far we have been discussing about frauds and investigations, no such program has been so far initiated, which is a combination of psychological elements, legal elements, scientific elements, and management elements. Probably the people with whom you are seeing today as experts, people like this have been the resource people to form the course, and people like this people will be the people who will be delivering the course. Participants, the link is on the chat box, and you can always get back to us for any such clarifications on this. So with this, it's time for us to conclude this session at this hour. So I personally thank the panelists, Mr. CSV Prasad, Dr. Ranjit Singh, Mr. Satish Hulia, and Dr. Gopal Krishna sir, for all your inputs. You have been so open to discuss about this topic of discussion with the same enthusiasm that gives me the motivation to call you and host you again and again. So with this, on behalf of all the participants, I thank all the panelists. Dear participants, I thank you for personally joining the Zoom meeting here. And there has been people who are also watching this on YouTube Live. So with this, thank you very much. Have a good evening, and let's meet up in the next upcoming session. Good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mahinderji. Good day all.